Hi boys and girls, it is Miss Stedman and I am here at my house and I have Humphrey. This is Humphrey, and since we can't be together right now reading together, I thought it would be fun if I would read a book to you. And this is a chapter book and it is called Humphrey's School Fair Surprise. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to read a chapter and I'll send it to you and you can listen with your parents or your brother and sister, and then I'll post another one and we can listen and read the next chapter together. So this story is written about a hamster, Humphrey, and he is in his classroom. His teacher is Mrs. Brisbane and he is the classroom pet. So this story is written from Humphrey's point of view. So it's not the author or the illustrator, it's from Humphrey's point of view. And so this is a chapter book. So that means that there's not going to be lots of pictures. I'll show you the pictures that are there, but there's not going to be a lot. So I want you to really use your imagination and think about what Humphrey sees from his point of view. Think about how things might look really big for Humphrey because he's so small and in his cage that's in the classroom. Also think about what Humphrey might be saying or doing to the other kid, with the other students. So I hope you enjoy the book, and here we go. We'll get started. So Humphrey's School Fair Surprise. Chapter 1, Surprising News. I've learned a lot about school in the short time that I've lived in one. As a classroom hamster, I get to see and hear everything that goes on in room 26. One thing I've learned is that it is important to listen to our teacher, Mrs. Brisbane. She is super smart and she is a good teacher too. I've learned also that it is important to listen to Mr. Morales, the principal. Mr. Morales is the most important person at Longfellow School. On Monday morning, when he came in our classroom, he said something very, very important. It was also quite surprising. As you know, class, the Longfellow School Fair is coming up on Saturday, he said. My friends got very excited. Will there be cotton candy? Heidi Hopper asked. She forgot to raise her hand. I think of her as raise your hand, Heidi, because Mrs. Brisbane always has to remind her to raise her hand. Mr. Morales smiled. I think so. AJ remembered to raise his hand, and Mr. Morales called on him. Will there be cupcakes? AJ asked. AJ's voice is very loud, so I call him lower your voice, AJ. Mr. Morales said there would be cupcakes. There would also be games and crafts and things that sounded like hamsterific fun. Yippee! I shouted. Of course, all my friends heard was a very loud squeak. This year we are adding something new, Mr. Morales told us, and everyone will be a part of it. So this page has two pictures. You can see there's Humphrey and his cage. He's so excited. And then there's Mrs. Brisbane and the principal, Mr. Morales. Are you listening, Og? I squeaked to my neighbor. Og is a frog, and he lives in a tank right next to my cage on a long table by the window. Since I can't see his ears, I'm never sure if he's listening or not. Bong, bong, he answered in his funny voice. I guess he really was listening. During the fair, each class will march around the playing field, Mr. Morales said. Ooh, my classmates said. You'll make signs that will show what makes room 26 special, Mr. Morales explained. There'll be a prize given for the best class spirit. Ooh, my classmate said again. Do you think room 26 will win the prize? Mrs. Brisbane asked the class. Every student shouted, yes, including me. Og splashed around in the water side of his tank. After Mr. Morales left, I was so happy. I hopped on my wheel for a fast spin. I should have listened to the teacher, but I couldn't stop thinking about the school fair. So there is Humphrey running on his wheel. Og and I were alone during recess. The fair sounds great, doesn't it? I asked. Bong, bong, Og answered. Cupcakes sound yummy and games are fun, I squeaked. Bong, bong, Og said. I just have one question, Og. What is a school fair? I asked. Og dived into the water and swam away from my cage. I guess he didn't know what a school fair was either. But I wasn't very worried. I knew I'd find out very, very soon. My friends were talking when they came back into the classroom. I heard some say things that were very odd. Beanbags, Gar said. Gail giggled and shouted, sponges. Gail loves to giggle, but I had never heard her laugh about sponges before. Saya, who hardly ever speaks, smiled and said, face painting. Class, we have work to do, Mrs. Brisbane said. We need to think about our signs. What do you think makes our class so special? Lots of hands went up. We learned a lot of important things in room 26, Mandy said. I agreed with that. I even learned how to read and write in room 26, which is unusual for a hamster. We've got the best teacher, Richie said. That made Mrs. Brisbane smile. But other classes have nice teachers and learn a lot, she said. Is there anything that sets our class apart from the others? Miranda Golden raised her hand. I think of her as Golden Miranda because of her golden hair. We have the nicest student, she said with a smile. She was right. I was lucky to be in a class with such nice humans. Here is a different way to look at it, Mrs. Brisbane said. What do we have that no other class has? I looked around the room. There was a colorful bulletin board with pictures of important people on it. I didn't know who they were, but they were sure important. I looked some more and I saw some books, pencils, paper, and maps. My friends glanced around the room too. Suddenly, Heidi said, Humphrey! She forgot to raise her hand again. There's the pictures of things all in the classroom. Then AJ shouted, and Og! The class was buzzing with excitement. Mrs. Brisbane clapped her hands to quiet everyone down. Quiet, please, she said. I agree. No other class has a hamster like Humphrey and a frog like Og. Should we use them on our signs? I was too surprised to squeak up, but my classmates all cheered. Even Og said, bong. We will start working on them tomorrow, Mrs. Brisbane said. All right, that is the end of chapter 1. And chapter 1 was called Surprising News. So, boys and girls, I can look at the table of contents to see what the next chapter is. And chapter 2 is called Busy, Busy, Busy. So I'm kind of in my head, I'm starting to make a prediction about what that chapter might be about and why they might be so busy. So I hope you enjoyed this story and that you were able to picture Humphrey in his classroom. Think about who the characters are in the story, maybe the main characters so far. Think about the setting. Remember, the setting is where the story takes place. And is there a problem yet in the story? Maybe there is a problem, so maybe start thinking about that. All right, check back in next time and we can listen and read chapter 2 together. Bye, boys and girls. Miss you.